Hey there. Have you ever had one of those big questions pop into your head and you just think, how do we get from that little spark of curiosity, that I wonder moment, to a solid answer we can actually trust? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the whole process of research. We're going to demystify it and figure out how we find real, reliable answers to the questions that really matter.
So let's just start with that big challenge right there. How do we actually do it? I mean, it's one thing to be curious about something, like why do people choose to adopt pets from shelters? But it's a completely different thing to build a clear path from that question to actual real knowledge. And that is the exact problem that a good, structured research process is designed to solve.
You know, the secret isn't some flash of genius. It's all about having a solid plan. I've always found it super helpful to think of it like building a house. You wouldn't just show up and start throwing bricks and wood together, right? Of course not. You need a blueprint, you need a foundation, you need the right tools. Well, guess what? Research works the exact same way. It needs that same kind of careful construction.
And here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with the question, that initial spark of curiosity, like why adopt a pet? Then we'll get into the design, that's the blueprint for the whole project. After that, we'll choose our frame, which is basically the perspective we're going to take. And finally, we'll talk about measurement, the actual tools you use to get the answers.
Okay, so first things first, the blueprint. This is, without a doubt, the most important step before you do anything else. You have to lay a solid foundation, and in the world of research, we call that the research design. So what in the world is a research design? It's the master plan. It's your overall strategy that makes sure every single little piece of your study fits together perfectly in a way that just makes sense. Going back to our pet adoption question, the design might be to survey 100 people who recently adopted. But just like with a house, if your design is shaky, like say you only survey people outside one single shelter, then your whole structure is going to be unstable. This first step really does decide everything that comes after.
All right, once your blueprint is solid, the next big decision is how you're going to look at your subject. This is your viewpoint, or what we call the research frame.
The easiest way to think about a research frame is like choosing a specific lens for a camera. For our pet adoption question, are we going to use an economic lens and focus on how much money people save? Or are we going to use a psychological lens and focus on that amazing feeling of saving a life? See, the lens you pick totally shapes what you look for, the questions you ask, and in the end, how you make sense of everything you find.
So we've got our blueprint, and we've got our perspective. Now it's time to get our hands dirty and pick our tools. This brings us to the measurement part of the journey, where we figure out how we're actually going to gather all this information.
You know, at the end of the day, most research comes down to asking questions. But here's the kicker. The way you ask completely changes the kind of answer you're going to get. It's not just about what you ask. It is all about how you ask it. The tool has to fit the job, plain and simple.
And really, there are two main ways to go. On one side, you have open-ended questions. These are your why and how questions. To understand pet adoption, you could ask something like, tell me the story of how you chose your pet. You'll get these incredible, rich, descriptive stories. Then, on the other side, you have your structured questions. These ask how much or how often. Something like, on a scale of 1 to 5, how important was cost in your decision? These are perfect when you need specific, measurable data you can count.
So let's look at the toolkit. You've got your open-ended questions for those really deep dives. Then there's this cool middle ground called semi-structured questions. That's where you have some planned questions, but you also have the freedom to ask follow-ups and explore things that just pop up. And finally, you have research scales, like that 1 to 5 rating system, which are awesome for turning an opinion into a number you can actually analyze.
Okay, so we've walked through the whole process, the design, the frame, and the tools. But let's bring it all back home. Why does any of this matter? Why is all this structure so important?
Because this is really the key takeaway. Good, solid research isn't some kind of magic trick, and it's definitely not an accident. It's a deliberate, methodical process. This whole framework of design, frame, and measurement is what transforms a random moment of curiosity into actual, credible knowledge that we can all trust and build on and share with the world.
So there you have it. We've laid out the blueprint for turning simple curiosity into real clarity. Now you have the framework, so the only question left is, what question will you try to answer?